Is this working? Yes? Looks like there's a couple more getting through the line out there. We'll wait just a few more minutes and then we'll get started. There, is that better? Testing, 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started now. I call this meeting to order, the annual meeting of Christ Lutheran Church for... Can we get the volume turned up on this? Like, I know I have it turned on. Testing. I don't want to put it in my mouth. There we go. That's better. Welcome, everyone, to the 2025 annual meeting of Christ Lutheran Church. This is a meeting represented the year we have just finished. And Pastor, will you please open with a devotion?
Please open up to the opening liturgy found on the front of the packet, please. And we begin, Holy God, teach us to love you with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And descend on our hearts that we may love others in the ways Jesus loves us. Empower us to be enthusiastic in pursuing your vision for our congregation. And move us to engage issues in our community in Christ-like ways, and to pursue deep, authentic relationships with those with whom we serve and partner. As we strive to become the church that we proclaim to be, raise up leaders who focus on the gospel of freedom, forgiveness, and reconciliation, as given to us through God's indescribable act of love in the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. And renew us daily in our baptism, that we may discover vitality in our relationships with you, each other, and those who we serve in the world. And all of God's children say, Amen.
Thank you. All right, I've been told to move to the center so the camera can see me. Everything that we will cover today is in the packet. The pages are not numbered, but the packet is organized so that the materials are in the order that they are found on the, I guess it's the agenda and index. So everything is in that order, but I won't be able to refer you to page numbers, but all of the information is there. The first, the ministry teams are listed in the packet, encourage you to review, and if you have an interest in participating on any of the ministry teams, you're certainly welcome. The folks that are generally leading those teams are designated, and those would be the ones you could contact if you have an interest, or just call a church office. The minutes from last year's meeting are in the packet. Does anyone have any corrections or updates to those minutes? I'll give you a short period of time to review them. I know the packets have been out for a week, so hopefully people have already reviewed them, but once again, are there any corrections to the minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes? There's a motion to approve. Is there a second? There's a second. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The minutes are approved. The reports from the pastor, my report, the report from Christian Education are in this packet. I don't have anything specific to add to my report. I don't know, Pastor, do you have anything that you would wish to add? He's going like this, so that's a no. We do want to review the treasurer's report, however, so I'll invite Mary up to address the treasurer's report.
So I am, really loud. I am on the page that says 2025 year-end report. And the first thing I would like to highlight is I did have a phone call yesterday that something was wrong, and I will admit it is. So if you look at the mission account totals, the totals there are actually from the end of November. I did not flip them to December. And I will give Bonnie new numbers for you on paper. Actually, it should read abundant table, 4,803.33. TEEF, 3,373.15. Laundry Love, 4,417.77. Undesignated missions, 1,215. Sunday school missions, 792.19. And meal in a bag, $1,000 for a total of $15,601.44. When you take that number and you go back up to the top and look at the mission savings account, and I'll be the first one to say, I am learning. I did not throughout the year move money between missions and general fund. Took care of it yesterday. One of those things that I got it all taken care of in QuickBooks, but did not move it at Core Trust. So now the general fund balance as of year end would be $64,010.77, and the mission Core Trust would be $15,601.44. So those will be corrected in the minutes. This will stay the same, just correction in the minutes. Moving on to bigger and better things, our 2025 budget income was $409,867.16, which we surpassed by $1,075, thanks to everyone. Budget expenses were $383,027.86, which is under budget by $26,839.30. Again, huge thanks to everybody for controlling those. Above and beyond the budget income of the $409,000, if you look down at non-budgeted giving, we gave almost another $20,000 in cash to Food Shelf, Laundry Love, that whole list there. And if you were to add to that, the socks that we gave, the food that we give to Food Shelf, all those things are not a number in there, so that's a huge kudos to our congregation. The other item to highlight at the bottom is the unpaid mortgage amount is about $178,000 as of year end. And there has been talk different times of paying that down with different funds, but that would be up to the council to decide that as we go forward. Questions for me on this year end numbers? 178,596.51. Other questions on the year-end numbers? It matures in 2038, but the rate could change again, I believe, in 2 years. Does that sound right? 2 years? And we are ahead of 38. If we were to keep paying right now and the rates stayed the same, we'd be done in, I think it's August of 36. So we're on track, but there is, like, the building fund CD is sitting there, and that, for one part, it's for insurance purposes if we ever need, have a tornado rip apart things or something, but it's also could go towards building fund. And the security bank account, where are we at, 26,000 is building fund money, so we're getting there. When we consider we started at 950,000, it's looking good. Other questions? I have a hard time seeing.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, we can, I think that the questions about what's left on the mortgage are very good. We do, from time to time, talk about that because we do have significant savings set aside to help offset that. So the amount we would need to raise is not insurmountable. It's certainly something I think we could do as a congregation. It's just that, when we do that is something that we certainly are welcome to input from the congregation, and it's something that the council will need to take up. Perhaps that is this year, maybe next. I think Mary made a very good point that with the way the insurance is structured and our deductible, and Larry can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's 1% of the value of the property. And so if we were to have a major event where we needed to replace the roof, we would be on the hook for about $80,000. And so it's not insignificant. We could certainly, get a loan if we needed to cover that. But right now we look at that money that is set aside for the building fund as monies that could potentially be used in that situation. And certainly once the mortgage is fully paid off, we would be in a better position to handle that sort of incident with a loan, for example. John? The current mortgage rate, I believe, is 3.3%? 3.875%. So several $1,000s, $3,000 to $4,000 each year are going towards interest payment. So, is there a motion to approve the treasurer's report? Excuse me? Thank you. There has been a motion to approve the treasurer's report with the corrections noted by Mary. Is there a second? There's a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The treasurer's report is approved. All of the reports of the ministry teams are in the packet. Hope you have a chance to read it. There's an awful lot going on in this congregation that is not always apparent, but I think if you spend some time reviewing the ministry team reports, you'll appreciate how much work is going on by many in this congregation. Is there a question? It's a very good point. There was a church directory that was assembled this year, and many thanks to those who were involved in orchestrating that and getting that completed. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. It's in the pastor's report? Okay, thank you. All right, thank you. Next comes elections. The nominating committee has reached out to a good number of individuals, and there are many in the congregation who have agreed to participate in various roles during this next year, many of whom have been fulfilling these roles in the past. And so we will need to approve the report from the nominating committee. Is there a motion to approve? There's a motion to approve the individuals that are identified by the nominating committee to fulfill the various roles. Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, Bonnie. Are there any other nominations that people would want to put forward for any of these roles? All right, we have a motion and a second, and I don't hear any other nominations. Is there a motion to approve the report from the nominating committee? Excuse me. All in favor, I'll say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The report from the nominating committee and all those individuals identified for the various roles is approved. You will also find listed all of the public groups that are routinely using the church. There are requests from time to time by groups to use the church. Those requests go before the council for approval. But the routine use of the church by groups is listed, and we need approval for those groups to continue to use the church on a regular basis. Is there a motion to approve the use of the church by those groups? There's been a motion to approve the use of the church by those groups. Is there a second? And is there any further discussion? John? I will need to find that. Does anybody have any information about? I didn't hear the conversation back and forth. Megan, can you explain what has happened with that?
Yes, one of the founding members of the NA group passed away. They did not notify us when that happened, but they did call a week ago to tell us that as of December, they had stopped using our space for meetings. So, well, no, this was all done, so it didn't get updated. It's just, it's an error, but they are not using that space anymore.
Okay, so Narcotics Anonymous, if y'all heard, is not using the space any longer. We can certainly, they could return, and I think that if they do return, they should come to the council and we can approve them to use the space again. But that is a correction that I think we should make and make sure that that's reflected in the minutes. Good catch, John. Thank you. Believe there was a motion to approve that in a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The public groups using the rooms here in the church is approved. The proposed budget is near the back of the packet. I'm going to find it before I talk any further. Okay, so hopefully you all found it. You'll see that the proposed budget for 2026 is balanced. The projected expenses and revenue are $428,298. This is an approximate $18,400, I believe, increase over this past year. I will go through and identify where the changes have been made. In the first page, our salaries. The Synod recommended a salary increase of 2.5%, and so we did follow the recommendations of the Synod for both the pastor and all of the other staff. So the 2.5% increase in all those salaries is noted. There are not a lot of significant changes to expenses that are pretty routine from year to year as it relates to operations and property. One thing that's important to note, and I might call on Mary to identify some of these expenses that don't appear in the budget. We do have a budget for property that includes some money for improvements, but we've had significant expenses this past year, as we did the year prior. And those are not reflected in the budget. Those monies come from savings. And so, or money that was in the checking account. And so I don't know, Mary, do you want to provide at least a summary of what some of those additional expenses were?
Some of the items, I may not have them all, but we started out with repairing our boiler for about $1,100, and then shortly thereafter that replaced the boiler for $13,250. We had a bill for Glencoe Electric to upgrade our electrical board, is that what it would be called? For insurance purposes, that was $12,300. Newbarth Landscape, we had some tree removal, landscaping, some issues with the sump pump at the parsonage, almost $9,000 there. Some light repairs of $3,300, and sealing the parking lot about $3,700. Those are above and beyond the budget numbers.
Thank you, and appreciate that. I didn't let you know in advance I was going to call on you for that, so I apologize. So again, I think it's just important that we all keep in mind that while we have budgeted items, there are other expenses that do occur. One of the commitments, I had suggested in last year's report was that we need to increase our reserves. That's really hard to do during the course of the year when expenses are always ahead of revenue. And so it's hard to discuss in July or August about what we might put aside for unplanned expenses. It's not until we get to the end of the year like this where we realize that there were some funds that we received over and above what the expenses were. I think we could put ourselves in a position, if we were to pay down the mortgage, to set aside money that is going to the mortgage to a fund that is for those unplanned expenses. So that is something, at least I'm thinking, that we should consider if we get to a point where we do pay the mortgage down. We could budget money moving forward for some of those sorts of expenses. Going through the remainder, next section of the budget is the parsonage. We have increased expenses for heating, city services, internet, because we have the pastor and his family living in the parsonage now. We estimated what those expenses might be. We don't know, to be honest, what those expenses might ultimately end up being, so we've given it our best shot. And so that's one area where there was an increase. The other area that I want to call attention to is in the area of Christian education. We have increased the budget for Christian education by $8,000. This largely is going towards some reference materials, teacher or youth ministry fellowship, and The largest increase is for mission, campership, and conventions. The youth have been actively involved in activities outside the church, and I don't know if Pastor Ann, you would want to comment on that, but we want to be able to support those youth or adults, depending on what the activity is, to participate if they're not able to otherwise participate due to the cost. And so there is some funds that we're setting aside to make sure that those who want to participate and attend can. And so I don't know, Pastor Ann, if I need to say anything more than that? Are there any questions about that? Okay, you're off the hook. Thank you. There was an addition under worship materials. You'll see that paper products was added, $2,500. And that was something that Mary identified during the year here prior to setting the budget, that we spend a lot of money on coffee cups. And there was no place for that to go. And so we've added a budget line for paper products, which will largely be coffee cups and perhaps paper plates and so forth. So anyway, that's where that comes from. It's just really making sure the budget more accurately reflects where we are spending our money. And that is, I think, that is the most significant changes to the budget. And so, as I said before, we've increased the budget by about $18.4 thousand for this next year. We've not done so lightly. We do believe it's achievable. We do know that we're providing an awful lot more in the way of education. And when the budget and finance ministry team met and discussed this, that request for an increase for education was a no-brainer. I mean, really, the idea that we were contributing so very little to the education activities in the church beyond what we receive on Sunday mornings was abysmal, to be honest. So anyway, that is probably the most significant increase, and that's all I have for the budget. Question?
Erik, I'm sure this is easy answer to this, but in our new budget, there's no budgeted money for like our companies. And also for the outlier, that's down.
Excuse me, I'm not finding it. What are you? I'll, ask anybody from the Budget and Finance Ministry team or Mary if you have anything on that. But I know the bell choir is not active at the present time, so we did not provide funds for that position. But certainly if the bell choir were to get active again, we would make sure that we allocate funds for that. All right, thank you for requesting that clarification, and I appreciate the help with that answer. Any other questions related to the budget?
Could you please highlight where we increased our mission and outreach giving? Like to Green Lake and to other social services?
The missions, it's section 36, missions and social concerns. The budget remains relatively flat. An additional $1,000 was applied to the ELCA. So that went from $21,000 to $22,000 for the current year. Most of the other items are the same as they were budgeted last year. There were some things that were changed because no funds were spent this most recent year. For example, Sunday school mission, $300. I think that's probably accounted for in the education budget.
I might add, those of us that always go to the full adoption are always contacted privately, and it's that way, so it doesn't go to church.
Yeah, yeah, and I think thank you for bringing that up. I think there is a lot of funds, and I think Mary highlighted this when we were looking at the treasurer's report. There are probably, I think it was 20,000 this past year that was donated apart from the budget that went towards missions and social concerns sorts of activities. So a lot of that is not captured in the budget.
I would like to revisit the laundry log amount. That hasn't changed, and $2,000 covers maybe about 4, possibly 5 months of actual expenses.
Could you clarify that again?
$2,000 in the budget for laundry log covers maybe 4 to 5 months of what we actually spend on expenses in laundry log. I'd like to see that increase. People are very generous, but like with private, we cannot get matching funds from them because that would have to go towards cash expense, and they don't cash that. So we run short quite often.
Yeah, I'm looking for, okay, I found what I need.
Just a point of information. When Laundry Love started, I was on the council at that time, and great thing they would do. But it was indicated at that time that it would always be self-sufficient and not a budget. So the fact that it's in the budget at all is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I just wanted to find under the non-budgeted giving, there was $5,308 given towards Lawn Love. I know that we've budgeted $2,000, so together it's over $7,000 that is contributed towards that. We've did not increase what's budgeted for it, but recognize that there are specific contributions people make for that purpose. And I think, it has come up from time to time about, well, what should we be contributing to some of these mission and social concern activities? And we can put it all in the budget, I suppose, or we can request donations, and people can give where they prioritize where they want their money to go. And so for those who are committed to Laundry Love, they have the ability to contribute funds specifically to that purpose. We do have noisy pail offerings for a variety of activities during the year. We receive checks independent of any of the noisy pail offerings that are dedicated to very specific activities. And I think we should encourage that, and we certainly welcome that. But the question is, do we budget for all of that? It's a little unpredictable. Not everybody is as committed to some of the activities as others, or probably better put, some people are very committed to certain activities, and they want those activities to thrive and continue. And there's an opportunity, and certainly we keep track of that. So if a check is written for $100 and it's to go to Laundry Love, that's where it goes. And funds for that are taken from that savings. So.
I was the person that, prior to that, I introduced Laundry Love to
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Any other conversation?
One thing, and basically the problem is our revenue, our donations are not keeping up with inflation. I went back in the last 5 years of budgets, and our budget this year, we have $428,000. Actually, if you adjust it where we were in 2021, it should be $43,000 higher. And one area that's been impacted the most is admissions. The mission budget as a percentage, total budget is half of what it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, and I don't, that's a good point. I mean, the missions budget, you say, is half of what it was 5 years ago. And again, I don't have the numbers in terms of what unbudgeted giving might have been during that time. So I can't comment fully or respond fully to that, because I think that would be an important part to factor into that. Right. We will not start printing money.
Point of clarification, when we solicited each of the ministry teams, missions came back with the same number for 2024. So they did not want to increase anything that they had.
Thank you for adding that.
Could I just ask you
Food
Food and Friends?
and Friends. I don't know. Does anybody?
We used to have, Bryce Lutheran cooks. Is that, I
The Food and Friends started to help buy food supplies for the after-church coffee. That's where that came in. I was honestly when that first put out the money.
Thank you for clarifying that. So Dennis clarified that that amount was added to the budget to cover food and,
The coffee hour after services. If people wanted to donate or they needed to be reimbursed for something that they had spent or personally helped, whether it was coffee or stuff pouring your coffee, make it taste different. That was supposed to be covered by that.
thank you. Yeah, often that's donated, and more often than not it's not. But there are situations where, and we've heard recently that there are individuals who prefer not to contribute to the coffee and snacks afterwards because of the expense. And I think we are looking at ways where we can perhaps reimburse those who wish to be reimbursed, and now we know where we can get that money. Thank you for clarifying.
On Sundays, the little donation basket, is that where that money is?
That money does not go into there. That is another question that has been raised recently, is the funds that are put in the basket every week is related to the coffee and candy and I think it's olive oil. And those two things both go into and come out of the general fund. So those, excuse me, Pastor, I think I just tipped over your water. Sorry about that. So, yeah, that money, the money that goes into the basket each week goes into the general fund, and money that comes out, the money that is spent on the coffee that is used, which comes from the cabinet, and with, that all comes out of the general fund. So we don't track that individually, but my understanding is that more money is spent to replenish the coffee and chocolate and olive oil than is received in the basket after church each Sunday. So right. So and the money that is put into the hutch box, if somebody wishes to come in and buy coffee and they put money in there, that in addition to the basket still does not equate to what is spent to keep that replenished. So, good conversation. Thank you. The
I'm talking about the clothes that we donate to mission and ones that, not for the senior clothes. I don't think those are from, the filler gets paid for through that, which is an expense, and that's not a cheap thing to get either. And it's getting harder and harder to make things.
I don't have an answer to that right now. No. Yeah, I mean, we can. I mean, the funds now are donated individually by members to contribute to that, I understand. Or individuals that are doing the quilting are buying it themselves. Is that correct? Okay. All right, so there are funds that are donated for that purpose that are not reflected in the budget. Okay, so there are Thrivent funds that have been used for that purpose that aren't reflected in the budget. Is there any further discussion? If not, is there a motion to approve the budget for 2026? There is a motion to approve the budget for 2026. Is there a second? I see a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor of approving the budget for 2026, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The budget is approved for 2026. Thank you. We have nothing on the agenda for old business. Is there any new business?
I'm not sure, but I'm just curious if communication rules for the churches, we're going to get the bulletin back online, so those people that are home now and want to watch it online, the little bulletin that will be the case to get that. And I'm not sure when the next issue of the newsletter comes out.
I'll second that too, because I feel like we're missing something by not receiving the minutes of the council reports, because we don't receive all of those.
Okay.
We approve them in advance. So I feel like there's a part of communication being missed because we're not receiving the minutes. Not necessarily the nightlife, but it wasn't that, but then in council, we would always approve in advance
One other comment?
Discussed at last year's family meeting, and we were told that it was going to improve about getting work of communication. I mean, those of us who come to church every Sunday, we still know what's going on. So I've heard many people talk about really missing the late night. It's something that maybe could be a volunteer that was set up or whatever, but a lot of people don't want to hear.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I wasn't at last year's meeting, but I understand. I mean, communications is important. We need to address that in the coming year. We've been having discussion about how to upgrade the website so that it can be updated more regularly, and perhaps we can post copies of the minutes, and that would be one way to accomplish it. No final decision has been made about the website and how we update it. We are certainly, if there's anyone with some IT skills that would be willing to volunteer some of their time and effort, there are very low-cost options for us to rebuild our website on a platform that I understand to be more easy to keep updated. And so that's one option. We did learn about that. We've never been able to close the loop on that. So the website is something that we've actively discussed, and the council will need to take that forward this year. The message is loud and clear. Communications needs to be improved for those who are not able to be here, and even for those who are here. We need to do more to make sure that everyone's aware of what's going on. Is there any other new business? There being no new business, we have reached the end of the agenda. Does anyone have a motion to end the meeting? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. I have one other thing I wanted to mention. Sorry, this is informational, and before everybody leaves, it was not brought up during the conversation about the treasurer's report. We did receive a $100,000 donation this year from the Yulin family. Sorry, I didn't have it close enough to my mouth. We did receive a $100,000 donation this year from the Yulin family in memory of Marilyn and their son Dennis. There haven't been decisions made exactly how that money will be allocated. In conversations with family, they are interested in new choir ropes, and also that much of the money go towards youth. And so we're in conversation about exactly how to organize that, make sure that it's sustainable. Pastor, I don't know if you have anything to add in your conversations with Lowell.
Conversations with Lowell and then Greg with Lynn, the sister. It is going to be for helping out our music, helping out our Christian education. But we would like to use that sparingly. We would like to use that with the intention of upkeep and not have it, for lack of a better term, cannibalized. Because we want to keep this as long as we can in memory of Marilyn, but also the family, and potentially using it for upkeep.
Yeah, thank you. We had not been sharing it since that gift was made, only because we wanted to make sure that we had come to some decisions and agreement with the family on how that would be allocated. And certainly we do know those two things that we want to move forward with. There are some other areas where those funds might be used, but final decisions haven't been made on that, and so we didn't want to get out ahead of ourselves and say we have this large gift and, you know, for a lack of a better way to put it, have hands out, you know, requesting support. We really want to make sure that we meet the family's wishes. So anyway, I just wanted to add that. So now, all in favor of closing the meeting, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The meeting is over. Thank you. We need to close with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Now go in peace and make disciples.
And for the current and future council members, please stay after. We have a meeting that we need to have, an organizational meeting here quickly.